In a happy Monday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. It's going to be a fun one today. Matt Iwanyk with you here. And we've got Wil Fraser and Hernan Salas with us as I, for those watching on YouTube, adjust the camera because I should have done that prior, but I didn't. Let me just keep zooming in. And with that mouse, that clicks really loud. And look at that. We're on the screen now. Much clearer. How are you guys today?
I'm good. I'm just wondering if after 4 hours of talking about little Bronny making his debut with USC, is there time to talk about hockey?
3 hours. Yeah. We've cut back that morning show. Look, LeBron wins the NBA in-season title. He's a true champion. And it just proves once again that the Lakers are the franchise of the National Basketball Association. We just win. It's in our DNA.
No, but it is proof that whatever team LeBron is on is the franchise of the NBA. Like, it's unreal. Like,
it's the Lakers that are the franchise of the NBA.
Is there a career that compares to LeBron James?
In what way? Like, because people would say MJ.
Longevity, consistently winning, like consistently pushing himself and his teammates to find ways to win. Like, I love MJ. I still think Michael Jordan is the greatest player to ever play, but this career is like, there's no shady break halfway through this career that had to,
What year is he in?
21.
Yeah, so
like, it's wild.
The only I'm trying to think, like, Messi would have been there because he was still good at PSG. He still could produce at the high level, but him going to MLS, it's not the same to me. Like, he's dominating MLS when he plays, but it's not. I know MLS is a lower level.
The comparable's a little bit different because in soccer, there's 5 great leagues, right? Where the NBA is the NBA, right? Like LeBron can't go. I'm gonna go try.
Great conversation, guys.
You can't go like
Dusty. For those that didn't hear, he just said great conversation.
So it's a little bit different, I think, when it comes to soccer, but nothing against LeBron.
But longevity-wise, that's where I'm just trying to think of who could still compare what I've seen or know of, and because Messi's been around for a long time, doing this at a high level for a long time. Yeah, he's still producing at a high level, but now it's like it's MLS.
League,
that's the thing. But he was still producing it at PSG, and he just won the World Cup, so he can do it. But now he's at an inferior league, so it takes away a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like MJ in his last few years, like when he came back with the Wizards, it wasn't MJ in the same that level.
He still had some really productive games.
Yes, but he wasn't one of the best players in the NBA.
He was not.
LeBron is still at least
topic of conversation day in, day out.
I do have an MJ Wizards jersey though.
Of course you do.
He's just a freak.
What discount bin did you find that thing in?
That was I got it at Champions. It wasn't discount. It was at the time, but it wasn't that expensive. But I have a Wizards.
Your history of front running is wild.
Yeah. I've stuck with every team since. But honestly, outside of Space Jam, that's MJ to me.
Yeah.
Wizards. Yeah. I don't remember him as a Bull.
You don't remember Bull.
No.
See, and I lived through it, which is probably why I'm biased towards it. Like, my grandma would cut out the Chicago Sun-Times, front pages when they were winning championships. So, that was a real thing to me. But as an adult watching what LeBron James has done for 21 years.
Because, again, he's still... I think at lowest we could go, he's a top 20 player still in the NBA.
So old.
If you go lowest.
I remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, swan song tour. His final year. I remember his final couple of years. Yep. And it was one of those things where it's you would see 5 minutes of classic Kareem. And that would be it for the game, right? He'd go out there, he'd hit a sky hook or two, he'd make his plays. But he did not dominate. You still see LeBron dominating. It's wild. No one could have predicted this. You would have thought jumper's knee or some sort of an injury or something would have slowed him down like it does to everyone else. Karl Malone made his trip to the Lakers and fell flat on his face. We've seen this before, and what we saw instead was an old LeBron James go to the Lakers, win a championship, not a great championship.
Why not?
It's kind of COVID related.
Yeah, but like, they were the best team in the NBA prior.
Right, but it's also...
And it was neutral site, which I think is harder to win. You don't have the home court advantage.
I disagree, but it's not really a topic that needs a lot of debate.
Right, that is an important title for Laker fans, which I am, because it was the one for Kobe.
Yeah,
it didn't matter how that was one or whatever. That
was the one for LeBron. No. You can put whatever you want on it, but LeBron. But
for
was
Lakers fans,
it
was important that there was two parts. There's one, it was they won it for Kobe because that was the year Kobe died.
Yeah,
but number two, that's what actually gained love, like Lakers. That's why Lakers fans now love LeBron.
Yeah,
they didn't love LeBron when he signed with the Lakers. There was a lot of people that got upset with LeBron, and it was actually Kobe who had to come out and say, "This guy is now a Laker. We need to cheer for him," because Lakers fans believe Kobe's better than LeBron.
Yeah,
and so it was, you're nobody. This is Kobe's number one. And what happened was LeBron also realized, because he talked about it in the bubble, how Laker fans don't care about what you've done anywhere else. It matters to Lakers fans what you've done for the Lakers, which is winning titles for the Lakers. And he realized that going into that playoffs, and Laker fans love that he went out and he did that for the year Kobe died. And that's actually now why LeBron will forever be a Laker great, was that title.
Yeah.
So for Laker fans specifically, that one was for Kobe, but it also gained the reason why we love LeBron now.
It's good they won the in-season, because they're not going to compete for the...
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
They're one of the top teams in the West.
Yeah, Golden State's taken a major step back. That West is wide open, unless Jokic is Jokic, right? Like...
Well, yeah, because it's Murray back. I can't recall if Murray is back.
Yeah.
That's the team still to beat.
Yep.
They are. They 100% are.
And then with Lillard and on the Bucks, like, that's a tough out.
That's a scary.
Although they're not gelling. Like, that is a team that
it might take a while.
Feels like they've taken a step back with the players they lost. So
here's the thing. Just quickly back to LeBron. I just want to point. Like, if you look at the players drafted the year he was and where they are now, Darko Milicic, well, he didn't turn into anything. Carmelo Anthony, out.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh, out. Now, he also had some health issues, but out. Dwayne Wade, out. Chris Kaman, out. Kirk Hinrich, TJ Ford, Michael Sweetney.
Like, it's not just that they're out, but they've been gone. They've been gone for
many years.
Like,
that, I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else that would maybe have been played. Like, and it's not that LeBron is still playing.
He's still impacting.
He's still one of the best.
Yes.
And that's what makes it impressive, what he's doing.
For you, who's the best player in the NBA?
Right now?
It's Jokic. It's Jokic, and it's not even close.
I think the other guy I would throw is Giannis in there. Like, that's, I think, the where I would be those two. I'm with you, though. I think Jokic, I would have to give Jokic number one, but I think Giannis is the second guy.
He's the only guy out there who's not playing basketball. I don't know what Jokic is playing, but like everyone else is playing a basketball that I understand, and then I watch Jokic, and I'm just like, I don't understand what he is doing. He is so much smarter and effective than everyone else is.
He looks like he doesn't, like, he's not even having fun doing it.
Right? Yeah.
He's just. Yeah. So would you say those two and Luka are the top three right now?
Oh, Luka.
No, Luka is unrealized potential at this point. I don't know if he'll ever get to it.
Who do you think?
I mean, it's hard not to go with Jokic, but I think Luka's up there, man. That kid's phenomenal. I mean, the Greek Freak is, there's so many, though.
That's what I want to say. That's what I think I love right now is that we right now, like, for a little period, it was like you would say LeBron, Steph, Durant, Kawhi. Like, that was it. Like, there wasn't a lot we put. Now we can go probably a good 15, 20 deep.
Because you go the older guys like LeBron, Durant, you know what I mean?
You know, like when Kawhi is healthy, man, that guy's a beast.
He is.
Like, and at one point, he was the best player,
but he's
like
not
one of
healthy.
the best. No, I know.
And he never will be again. Like, he's always going to be.
He should have stayed in Toronto.
Yeah, he should have. like, there's a lot of should haves with that Toronto team.
Does anything change with his career?
I don't know.
Like, I don't think the health issues necessarily changed. They did the load management out with the Clippers.
I was going to say
did the Raptors do
the key for what
load management?
Yeah,
they a little bit.
The key for what Toronto did for Kawhi that the Clippers were unable to is they protected Kawhi, whereas he was brought to the Clippers where the Clippers depended upon him. In Toronto, that was a 50-win team without Kawhi Leonard in the lineup.
That's a good point. Yeah,
like.
He got him to that championship
Yes.
level, but
Yeah,
they were going to make the playoffs whether
exactly.
He
was the guy that could get them over the top in a game 7. He was exactly what they needed,
Yeah.
but that was a team that could win 50 games without him.
Yeah.
The year before, they went pretty far in the playoffs.
Yep.
Year after, had a great season.
Yep.
He's that guy that elevated them. But that also goes to the NBA is you need that superstar to win. And the Raptors never had that superstar until Kawhi comes. You're not winning a title without a superstar.
Yeah.
You need at least one, if not, you need the two.
Or you need a guy that completely reinvents the game while he's doing it, which is what Jokic is doing right now.
But he's superstar too, right?
He is, but
it's a different age of superstar.
Everyone else has games that are comparable in some way.
Yeah.
And there is nothing that compares to what Jokic does. Like he looks like an NFL quarterback who happens to be on a basketball court.
Rip City Steph saying Jokic is dominant, but also makes every teammate better.
Yeah.
And also no Embiid love. And we haven't talked about Joel Embiid there. And I wouldn't put him as the
Joel
best
Embiid,
in the NBA. I wouldn't put him there. I would still have Giannis and Jokic ahead of him. But Embiid is just an amazing talent in himself. And this goes to what you were saying, there's just so many guys that we could talk about that are just of a high level in the NBA right now.
And that's no disrespect. It's just there's so many, right? And Embiid hasn't been able to win with a pretty good Sixers team every year. And but for a big guy too, I remember the first time watching him play early on, and just the way he dribbled the ball, you were blown away because how can a big guy move like this? He's phenomenal too. But again, as I became a Raptors fan when Vince Carter went there. I think Vince Carter.
You love the athlete.
Yeah. Like Vince Carter, the slam dunk competition when him and Tracy McGrady came in together. So for me, I've always had a distaste for the 76ers because they've had good battles, right? And he's kind of a baby, right?
He whines.
When they lose, he whines, and when they win, he celebrates they won the championship every time. So
was it Jimmy Butler who he made comments about Embiid? I think it was him that I don't know if it's there to ever win.
Yeah. Embiid seems fragile.
Yes,
there's a certain fragility to him, both physically and emotionally. That you're kind of
Raptors coach is there, right?
Nick Nurse.
Yeah, we'll see how far he can take.
I love Nick Nurse as a coach.
Yeah, he's great.
I think the Raptors made a mistake getting rid of him too
Really?
soon.
No. You got to move it out, man.
Sure, but it's funny how things change in Toronto because the summer prior, the Lakers were looking for a coach. That was when they moved on from Frank Vogel, and the stories from LA were they're going to try to get Nick Nurse. Sure. And out of Toronto Toronto would never get rid of this guy. This guy's important. He's not going anywhere. And then a year later, they're greasing him. How things quickly turned.
Well, LeBron's the
with
coach,
him. So. I don't think he is as much there.
No, I don't think you're absolutely wrong.
I was kidding, but
no, but there is a truth to that. LeBron, many times throughout his career, has coached largely.
Can you imagine being a head coach of LeBron and not tapping into his wealth of knowledge and experience?
Hey, yeah. It's
is there anything better than having a coach who's also on the floor? Yeah. There's not going to be anyone.
I would love him drawing plays.
Who looks at LeBron and is like, "Oh, you can spout off from the bench, but I'd like to see you pull." The guy is pulling it off. I would just shut up and listen to whatever LeBron told me.
I have no problem him drawing up a play late in a game or something because he's the one on the court doing it.
Absolutely.
So if he thinks this is what I can do, this is what we need to do.
And he's done it for 21 years.
Go for it. But the subs are coming from him. The lot of that stuff. That's the coach, because sometimes you could watch and you're going, what are you thinking here? And that's him.
But if LeBron comes to you and is like, stop putting this guy in, he can't play. Can you imagine being like, I'll handle this, LeBron?
Well, then sometimes I have problems with LeBron going, why aren't you playing someone else?
Yeah. I feel like that's more Jordan's personality. Why'd you play this guy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see him on the court anymore.
Well, it's probably my age and my bias, but going back to Luka Doncic, watching him play, all it keeps doing is reinforcing just what an absolute monster Larry Bird was.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy that they compared him to when he first came in. They were kind of like that athlete, can shoot from anywhere, sort of floor general. And then you think back to Larry Bird, and the guy was mean. He was a bully, and he hated everybody else. And you watch Luka, and what is he missing? he's missing that hate. Like, he is missing that ability to stare at an opponent and look forward to crushing them in front of their family and friends. And that's who Larry Bird was.
I can't remember who said it from the TNT panel. It might have been Charles.
Yeah.
But he says one problem with the NBA today for him was these players are too much friends.
Yes.
And there's not as much hate between them.
That's right.
That they're too buddy-buddy. When they go up against them, there's that competitiveness. Absolutely, that's there. But that hatred isn't there as much.
Just go back, Pistons, when they were winning, they were bad. They were the bad boys. And when they lost to the Bulls, they didn't even shake their hands.
No, man.
And then the 90s Knicks, like if you played those guys, you better be ready for a scrap,
Yeah.
right? Charles Barkley hated everybody he played against. Call him out, he'd throw down.
Yeah.
Like, it's true. It's a different league now, man.
Well, so, like, not everybody needs that hate.
No, of
Like,
course not.
LeBron James is the perfect example of he is going to treat you like $1 million until tip off. And then as soon as the game's over, he's treating you like $1 million again. But as soon as the game is on, he wants to rip your heart out.
The only one that's old school is Draymond Green.
Yeah. They're still old school there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's the...
Like,
if you want to find an old school
Rudy
player,
Gobert
yeah.
in the chokehold, and like
He should have been playing in the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he should have been back then. That would have been him.
Although he would not have had a long career in the 80s because there would have been other guys out there hunting him down as well, right? Like,
There's
Yeah,
guys
there
that
would
would
have been
fight back.
Yeah. He has benefited from a lack of punchback.
He puts Charles Oakley in a headlock. Yeah, that's not ending on the court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Lambier would have hunted him down off the court. Like,
But was Bill Lambier like? I
he was
know
the
guys-
dirtiest. He was the dirtiest player.
dirty,
ever
but
played.
was he tough? Like, there's a
Yeah, man.
difference.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, he was dirty because he
'Cause I-
wanted you to take a throw
Yeah,
a swing
yeah.
at him, right? Like,
that was a fun team.
that's a
We're
scary
dating
team.
ourselves,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys enjoy the in-season tournament? Did you watch
I loved it.
Because we had Clausen on last week, and he says he loved it for him because he's a basketball guy. He says, though, but he never really watched until Christmas Day.
Yeah.
This gave him an incentive to actually watch until Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And based on anyone who actually watched in-season tournament games, players cared. It was good basketball.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch it? Did you like it?
I loved every minute of it. I wouldn't mind if they split it into two halves. Like the PCL, so the Edmonton Trappers,
Four-time champs.
The PCL used to have a split season.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you won the first half of the season, you were automatically in the playoffs for the second half.
That's happening.
right?
That happens in soccer.
Yeah,
in certain
and
leagues too.
so I wouldn't mind even something like that, where you have a first half sort of season that comes to an end with a champion, and then you have a second half season that comes to an end with a champion, and then you could even have a champions versus champions after that.
Yeah, it was all right. I like the courts.
Did you?
Yeah. They're like, some of them were.
I thought they were a
awful.
little too much.
Yeah. But it was all right. I mean, seeing a team celebrate in December though was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. But it's cool. It's something I think obviously it was a hit for sports fans, not just basketball fans. So yeah, I think it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. But again, because it still counts for the regular season.
Up until semis and finals,
yeah.
right? Like, or those then were separate because
Yeah.
those aren't, I believe, because they're not regular season.
So it's kind of cool.
I liked it. Like, I was watching it all on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I know some people, like, for some it is weird celebrating December, but like, what was it? It wasn't last year, or when? Maybe it was last year. Like the Carabao Cup in soccer, Manchester United won that in like February last year, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's during the season. Like in soccer, I'm used to seeing the
You're
celebrations
used to it, though,
throughout.
yeah.
Right. So for me personally, it was like, yeah, I'm cool with seeing a championship being celebrated. Actually, I'm intrigued though because the Lakers apparently aren't putting a banner up for this. Because they have a history of not putting up any banners except for retirements or championships. They don't even have conference titles, division titles. They don't do any of that.
Well, then.
But I'm intrigued if the NBA tries to step in on that one because they're trying to legitimize this. Lakers obviously cared. They went out. They won it. They tried their best. They put it all out there.
Yeah, but if you're not putting Western Conference champion banners
I know,
up,
but if you're the NBA going, we want to legitimize this tournament, you need a banner for this one.
Yeah.
I wonder if the NBA jumps in because if you're not putting the banner up, like you're now trying to say this doesn't matter.
I think the NBA is just
have so
happy
much
that
history,
I think
yeah.
they're also just happy that the Lakers won it.
I mean, if a team like New Orleans won, they'd probably put one
Yeah,
up,
exactly. Like
right?
it's been legitimized because an anchor franchise won it. Like if Boston had won it, it'd be the same thing. I mean, in a perfect world, it's the Knicks that walk away with it because
it would have been to give New York something.
Knicks are not going to win any other championships.
I'm kind of glad
right?
that they're not going to put one up.
Yeah,
I'm not. It's a title. It's a title. Put that up there. It's another cup. We won. We're champs. You put that up there. Forever in-season tournament champions.
I'll say this. I would like to see them try a March Madness style tournament. I think that'd be fantastic. Where it you start with all teams playing.
Like shut down in January, the regular season.
Yeah, well,
and launch a tournament.
I would still mix in
do it throughout the year.
Like you still you still have to play like a Tuesday Thursday game or even just a Wednesday game. But then you have it scheduled that there are back-to-back games on the Saturday and the Sunday.
So what you want that's the full soccer model where midweek European clubs play Champions League. Weekends they're playing their League Cups.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going during the week, play a couple of regular season games. But then on the Friday, Saturday, the Saturday, Sunday, we've got March Madness style tournament. So this time of the year, it's going to be, we'll have the round of 32.
Yeah. But it's also a single knockout.
Yeah. But you could then spread that out throughout the whole year where you could have the round of, again, you have to expand to 32 now for this.
Yeah.
Which the NBA eventually will. But let's say you have the round of 32 in October. In November, you have the round of 16. In December, you have the round of 8. January, you have your Final Four.
Yeah.
And in February, at All-Star Weekend, you have your championship.
Yeah. And everyone is back into their regular season schedules.
But you do that on the weekends. But on the weekdays, those weeks, those are your regular season games.
Yeah.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of envision the in-season tournament would be like, though, too.
The thing that I like about it is, the thing that we love about March Madness is the first weekend of it. Mm-hmm. Where there is just a million games of basketball all going on at the same time.
Days, right?
Your phone is just
10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, basically.
Yeah. There's 3 different games where something incredible is going on. There is a madness to it,
but it's also something that you look forward to in March, right? Like for me, it's leave the regular seasons of pro sports alone. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but it's just
a November Madness for the NBA would actually be pretty fun.
There's a lot going on though, so I don't know.
I'm all for
NFL
these type of things.
NFL's not into its playoffs yet. Nope. Major League Baseball has just wrapped up. Hockey is in the exact same place.
The NBA doesn't care about hockey.
Right.
Let's just put that clear.
But they would for arena issues.
Apparently, they control basically all the arenas that they share with the NHL.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter to them.
Didn't Tommy say last week that the NHL has?
No, it's the NBA. The opposite.
Oh.
He said the NBA has the rings that they share. The NBA controls basically all of them.
Yeah.
Which surprised me, even LA, because I think the Kings own the whatever the hell it's called now, Crypto.com Arena or whatever. Yeah. I think the Kings own it and Lakers are a tenant, but the Lakers still get priority apparently.
Huh. You could also then include the idea of neutral sites.
Yeah.
For the later rounds, right? Where all of a sudden you have franchises bidding on the right to host the
Final Four,
quarterfinals, and what have you. So
I actually really like that idea.
Yeah.
If they want to, I would reinvent the in-season tournament for something like that.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing I didn't like about the in-season tournament was it counted to regular season games, and to me it needs to be separate.
Wow.
I want them separate.
If the NHL was smart, that's what they would go with for their
And quite frankly,
why not steal March Madness before the NBA does it?
One with this, also get away from regionals.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden the Oilers have to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round.
One game, single knockout.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do it. Get rid of the regions, get rid of divisions. This is supposed to be where you could play anyone. Frankly, even if we did the March Madness style when you do that, you do it based on, I'll steal again from soccer, do a draw.
Yeah.
You have an hour television special where you're drawing the bracket.
Yeah.
And everyone will watch that. And just right there for the NHL, you get a little extra exposure by everyone wants to watch the draw. Soccer fans are known for watching balls being taken out of bowls to figure out what our draws are.
Yeah.
And it's for an hour. I watched the Copa America last week. 50 minutes of it was just them talking. I was getting really frustrated because I just want to see the draw.
Well, that's
but then the draw happens,
years,
and for 10 minutes it happens.
Right?
But it happens every year. Champions League, it happens. Europe League, it happens. And it's exciting that soccer fans stop and watch us drawing balls out of a bowl. Hockey could do that with something like this.
Yeah.
And it brings you that little extra exposure.
Not only that, but then you can also program around it. When all you're talking about is 1 month, right? Where you're not.
I'd spread it a little more beyond that month, but personally.
But if you could get a November where people actually give a crap about what's going on, like, I think it'd be phenomenal. Like, and I think it could also turn seasons around for certain franchises.
I was just thinking that, like, Oilers were 2-9-1 at one point. But does it also...
Like, imagine if this run was happening in an in-season tournament as well.
For the Oilers?
For the Oilers. Like, right now, the Oilers are still a back burner issue for the NHL in large, right? Like, the NHL, as far as the media and the fans outside of Edmonton, have tuned out on the Oilers because they just assumed their season was over. They will start tuning back in now, like now that they're back to 500. Connor McDavid will start leading sports reports again, but they were turned off. Now, imagine if they had had this 7-game run in some sort of an in-season tournament where all of a sudden people are like, oh, geez, is this going to turn this? Is this their first step towards a long playoff run come the Stanley Cup playoffs? Like, it would be, I think the bonuses of an in-season tournament far outweigh any of the negatives.
But say for the NHL, like they win the in-season tournament, what does that mean to them?
Championship.
Okay, but it's not the championship.
No, but
you know what I mean? Like it's like
no, it's one of many.
It's one of many. Well, it's in.
Like it's,
I don't know.
I think Edmonton has enough problems trying to get, like, they've won 7 straight and they're still out of the playoffs. Like and then they have to worry about
only 3 points.
An in-season tournament. Like for me,
but see, this is the glory of the beauty of an in-season tournament to me is you don't have to worry about it if you don't want to.
Well,
if you're focused,
but it's still counting for regular season points,
and that's why I separate them.
Yeah.
That's why I separate them.
I see, and I like that. I like that it counts for in-season points.
But then you're playing more games.
No, see, but how you do this is, to me, you shorten the regular season. So you go from 82 games, let's say it's 72 games. But then to balance out those 10 games, that's what goes towards this in-season tournament to me. And this is, again, like full on. I'm stealing this from a soccer model.
Yeah.
And then it's also, because for me, the in-season tournament, it would be, like the Pacers almost won a title this weekend. And how great would have that been for Pacers fans?
For that young group, too.
Where the young group, also the fan base, like, hey, we finally won something.
But
where it's not a year that you've won an NBA title. It's never going to be the Larry O'Brien trophy. It's never going to match that level. But it's something to go win and it's something to go aspire to. Like the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell said, like, this was a cheat code for them to prepare for playoff basketball, they think.
Yeah.
That they were already playing playoff games right now, getting ready to go for that. But I look at an in-season tournament, if it didn't count for regular season games personally, where it would be the teams that know that they're not going to go win the Stanley Cup, they could go compete for this and potentially win something this year and give their fan base something to celebrate this season. The teams that want to go win the Stanley Cup, they could focus on the Stanley Cup. And if you are one of those teams that is great enough, you could try to do the double. You could try to win both to go, we had the great season and we swept the titles.
But if you're a mid-tier team, I don't know. I'm just... It's good for the Lakers winning it, but it's like if the Raptors won it, I would have been like, who cares?
See, I don't think so.
Yeah, like that's me though. I'm not saying the Raptors.
No. But I know you as a fan. If the Oilers go and lose a final, you'd be upset because the Oilers lost the hockey game.
Because they lost the hockey, but like if they lost this play-in tournament, I wouldn't be that upset. I'd be like, oh,
because you haven't experienced it yet. Trust me. No, when it gets going and you see the players caring, you'll care.
There's only one championship in the NHL, and that's the Stanley Cup for me. You can put in all these little tournaments.
Yeah, but there isn't for the players. The players put the Olympic. I mean, I think if you Olympic medal just as high as.
If you want McDavid, he's like, I'd rather sure, if we win it, it's great, but that's not our goal. I think most guys would say that.
Of course, because it's not going to ever be that. But it's another title to go win. No. You don't think these guys are competitive enough to go, I want to win everything? Of course they are. Not only that, and if the Oilers take on the Flames in an in-season tournament, you're not going to want to see the Oilers beat the Flames?
Of course, yeah. But I mean,
and now all of a sudden you're going to be interested in this tournament.
But if you're telling me Calgary, Edmonton in the final of a play-in tournament and Edmonton in the final of the real thing, it's two completely different things.
No one's trying to say different.
No one's gonna celebrate and do a parade and pop
there's
champagne.
There's not gonna be a parade. There will be champagne. They did it in Vegas for this. Oiler fans will celebrate. Oiler fans will be happy. The Oilers will immediately put out a hat that says NHL in-season tournament champions
and a banner.
People would buy the hell out of that.
Yeah.
And trust me, when this happens in the NHL, because it's coming to the NHL will absolutely do it at some point.
Copycat, yeah.
You're gonna start cheering for it. I guarantee it. You just haven't experienced it.
But I'm saying I'm not gonna I wouldn't
You'll get upset when they lose. When they lose, you'll be frustrated.
But I think if you're a fan, you get upset every time they lose.
But then when they win, you're also going to be excited when they win.
Yeah, but again, I'm comparing it. Like
I know, but you can't compare the two. Because, like, let's say the Arizona Coyotes won an NHL in-season tournament this year because they're not winning the Stanley Cup. You don't think that franchise is happy, that fan base is like, hey, we've done something this year?
Sure, but it's got no, like, there's no value. Like,
why is the Stanley Cup of value, though? Like, it because it's been around for so many years. Course. It started as that championship. Why don't we value the President's Trophy much? I don't know. Like it has to happen organically. You got to see how it goes. But I guarantee when this comes to the NHL, I think
maybe after years and years, it'll take on more of a. There'll be more value there. But I don't think right away. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it.
North American professional sport is the oddball when it comes to competitive sport, though.
Yeah.
Like in the idea that there is one season and one tournament, and that's it. You look at any other leagues that kids play before they get to the NHL, and it is nothing but invitational tournaments and in-season this. And you have kids that are going to go to Calgary of midget hockey players who are going to play in, up until the World Juniors, the biggest tournament of their career, and it'll happen over Christmas, right? So I actually think it's kind of like found money. An in-season tournament is... It's not going to make you rich, but man, having an extra $20 in your pocket sure feels better than not having it, right? And so that's kind of how I look at this, is that all we're doing is reverting to the roots of what sport's supposed to be. Tennis, for example, is nothing but tournaments, right? Like they have 4 majors in a year on different playing surfaces, and then other minor tournaments and major tournaments throughout the calendar. Golf is the same. I mean, you guys obviously are using European football as an example. That's the one for me. Which is a good example, but most sport outside of North America is about multiple invitation. Titles. I mean, people will be going to Davos, for example, over Christmas to see a Spangler Cup, and it is the same sort of thing where you have a whole bunch of Canadian kids who are playing on European pro teams that those leagues will take off over Christmas, so they'll get together in Davos and they'll play on a quote-unquote Team Canada and play against other pro teams. Like this is how sport's supposed to be. We're the weirdos in North America for not having it.
I will say, imagine in the decade of darkness for the Oilers, all of a sudden they were in this competitive tournament. Like it gives you something. In a time where you know that they're not going for that cup, that you're not getting that, it gives you something that maybe they could go do something, accomplish something. And I will also add that for years, I talked to Josh Clausen about the in-season tournament, and he was skeptical. He was like you. He was saying the exact same stuff as you. I told him, no, this is going to be great. And you're one of the NBA. He's all in love with it. And it's hard for people to say this. He told me I was right on that one.
No, that's fair. Maybe if it does happen and I become a fan of it, I'll also be intrigued. Like, I'd like to see what the NHL players have to say. Like, someone should ask them, hey, did you guys see the NBA play tournament? What would you think if the NHL did it? I'm intrigued to see what the responses would be. Because hockey's very...
Well, that's
don't
why,
mess with it.
That's why I wouldn't even ask him.
Like, I think if you ask him,
I wouldn't ask him because they have bad instincts when it comes to what makes it more interesting for the fan base, right?
But like, I wouldn't want to see more games added to hockey, right? Like it's an 82-game schedule. It's either these games count towards the regular season and that's that, or we need to shrink the regular season and add these extra games.
You can't add 10 more games.
I don't want to see more games added to this because that will hurt your playoffs too.
Oh, 100%.
I just also don't want to see it take another 20 years before it happens, right?
It won't. Within this decade.
I grew up in the era of tie hockey games. And I remember
Me too, man.
The freak out that happened over 10 years to finally get those games decided by some form or another.
Ties were the worst, weren't they?
Right? Like
you're watching a 3-hour game.
The amount of time and effort and energy that people put into defending the way that we finish hockey games is the way that we finish hockey games to what you have now, which is a better product.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Like 3-on-3 hockey is a better product. Even the shootout is a better product than a tie hockey game is. So, I mean, we can quibble about the way that they keep points in the standings. I think that's another area where the NHL could change things for the better. But the idea that we ever fought for a decade to change that rule is mind-boggling to me now that you see the product in front of you. And I feel the same way about an in-season tournament or any other change. Like,
They'll do it because the NBA is doing it.
Learn
and the
from the
NBA is going to have
NFL.
success from it. And the NBA is going to sell this, and then the NHL is going to, somebody's going to be in a board of governors going, why are they doing it? Why aren't we?
But like,
and
also,
that's how it's going to spin.
Learn from the NFL. Make a change, and if it doesn't work,
go back.
Go back. Like,
That's NBA. NBA is going back. Like they keep messing with their All-Star game, but they had that Elam ending, which I thought was great. They've gotten rid of it again. This next one, I think it's back to East versus West type thing. It's not even stars picking, I don't believe, and they're constantly making those type of changes.
All-Star.
But like that's it.
All-Star
I know that's
can be the
All-Star.
first thing on the cutting block.
But that's where I think
Especially the NHL.
that's where I think the in-season tournament could replace the All-Star games in a sense, where All-Star Weekend now becomes.
We talked about this
the
before.
finals.
Just turn it all into pickleball tournaments, man. I'll watch.
Lance agrees with Hernan in the nasty chat. You could also text the 780-218-9999. I agree with Hernan. I don't give a damn if we lose some fall tournament. Or in-season tournaments, although Sam is with me saying Iwanyk spot on. In-season tournaments are massive in soccer. My childhood team in Scotland has never won the league, but has won several in-season tournaments. It's amazing for the fans. And then Pat saying the CFL should just get rid of divisions and do standings 1 through 9, which I'm sort of in favor with the CFL.
But soccer's always been that way. Like,
but why don't
there's cups and there's
understand why it's still there and understand why it's still going and go maybe that could work here. And you give it a try.
For every Oilers fan who is skeptical of how it would feel to win an in-season tournament, I want you to close your eyes right now.
Okay.
Just do it with me.
Do I have to do it too?
Yeah, close your eyes right now. It is.
Don't do anything to me. Don't put anything.
Monday morning. Mm-hmm. The championship just ended. The Edmonton Oilers won the in-season tournament, defeating the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sure, yeah. Because you hate the Leafs, but like, who cares?
Now, is that better than a Stanley Cup? Absolutely not.
No.
Are you going to be walking around on Cloud 9, high-fiving every one of your buddies?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are you going to have the pithiest texts and tweets in the world aimed at Toronto Maple Leafs and their fans? Absolutely. Like, it would be delicious. And that's what you're supposed to be paying for with your time and your money.
But now
flip it
the other way. Oilers fans would be like, "Who cares? It's an in-season tournament."
If you lost,
like if you lost, no,
yes,
no,
100%. But that's just the deflection at that point.
No,
it would be a deflection.
There would be some, but there would be far more kicking of dogs and breaking of steering wheels
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes,
but
because you would have cared.
But on Twitter, they will go, "Oh, it's in. Who cares?"
Yeah.
But that's only a masking mechanism right there. Because you're right.
Points than Matthews right now.
If it was flipped, they would win. The rookie ads do a 3-on-3 NHL in-season tournament.
Sure,
that would be something.
I'm not gonna.
I like
whatever you want to throw out.
Yeah, give it a try.
I'll say yes.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I stand by this. I said this at 1260 for a number of years, ever since the NBA was the first to start discussing bringing an in-season tournament, that one day it will come to the NHL. NHL fans, like you, Hernan, will say, this is dumb. We're not going to enjoy this. And then it will happen, and you all be like, this is great. This is awesome. I do enjoy this. It's not the Stanley Cup, and it's never going to be the Stanley Cup, and it's never been intended to be the Stanley Cup. But for regular season stuff, it's going to give you a little more interest.
What's the point?
Entertainment,
more competitiveness.
But you're still playing the game.
But like, why? Like, what is the point? Period.
That's I could go to that's the exact same thing. Like, what's the point? Period. It's to go win something.
Yeah.
It's because it's competition. Sports all about being competitive. And you give the most athletes.
Yeah, but you're competing to make the playoffs in the NHL.
But we also know that there's those games in January or whatever where the players aren't fully there. Sure. It's not there because it's 82. It's a long slog. Now you're adding a.
And
we're going to win this.
In-season tournament's going to.
Did you watch the NBA?
Yeah, man.
Did you see how competitive those games were? There actually was more competition, I would say, in the NBA fall to start this season than there has been in years because of an in-season tournament. 100%. We just saw it. Also, athletes just in general, the pro athletes, they're the most competitive people in the world. You don't get to being at the top of any sport without being competitive. And you throw something else like that.
The Jordan sports gambling stories are legendary. And the one that Jeremy Roenick tells about going golfing against him and beating him twice. They got drunk on the course. And then he tells Jordan, this is perfect. I'm going to take whoever it was, the Knicks that night. And Jordan says, like, fine, I'll bet you $500 that not only do we win, but we win by 20 and I have 50. And Jordan went out and had 55 points. Now, do you think he would have had 55 points if there wasn't a $500 bet on the line?
No,
probably not. Does he need $500? Absolutely not. But they're wired that way, that all of a sudden you put a reason to compete in front of them and they'll charge at it like a bull.
Yeah.
Like Connor McDavid versus Toronto Maple Leafs in any sort of in-season tournament, he'd want to go in there and rip their hearts out.
Sure. Yeah.
And vice versa. Except for maybe Austin Matthews. He might shrink from it.
Ben saying for NHL, NBA, MLB, the regular season becomes a long grind. Nothing wrong with doing some things to mix it up and bring some excitement to the dog days. This text into the nasty chat saying this feels like a participation ribbon-esque. But the thing is, this comes from a history of being around for a long time. And as you said, Will, like in sports in general, this is what happens.
This is what we've always done.
Yeah, but when LeBron's done, I won this many NBA championships and a play like.
Of course you will.
No, you won't.
It will be now, but it's because you won the first.
Not just an in-season, he won the first one.
Absolutely, that's the big thing. F1, like you have how many? The F1 season is about winning the big prize at the end, but there's also mini races throughout the year to go win.
Yeah.
It's golf, same thing. There's tournaments throughout the year to go win.
Races.
And well, that's a race in a race now, right? We keep sports is like this.
Just leave hockey alone. It's fine.
First of all, it's not, man.
We were having that discussion before the show, and if the NHL doesn't want to try things like this is why it's going to keep dropping.
It would be very on brand.
Well, and it's why it's going to keep dropping in U.S.
coverage
and stuff, and things are going to keep passing it because they're not trying to be innovative and they're not trying to grow.
Well, and there's a lot of sports, man. Yeah. There's a lot of sports.
And it's growing more and more.
And it's growing more and more. I shouldn't say less money to go around. Less guaranteeable money to go around as well. So
this is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, available in both original variety 12 packs, a great pack size for entertaining and hanging out with friends. And you're taking some after you said. I got to remember that.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are like, I could have had some Mott's there. You could have grabbed me.
Feel free. I do highly recommend the extra spicy and the pickled bean, but the original is great too. They're all fantastic, but I love those other two.
Wow,
like those. I have an order.
Really taking a stand there.
Matt Iwanyk, Wil Fraser.
I suggest this one, but this one's pretty good, and this one's also great.
Also really good.
Wil Fraser, Hernan Salas with you here today. I want to get into movers and shakers, brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty One Group Insider. Let Marco and Mike earn your trust. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, check them out, marcoandmike.com for more information. Today's actually the day this is coming out. This is always one of my favorite days or around this time of the year for discussion on radio. It's now the North Star Award, I believe it's called, which formerly was the Lou Marsh Award. Voting, I believe, happens today, which is the top Canadian.
Poor old Lou Marsh couldn't even keep his award.
Well, he had a history. That's all we'll say. These years are always tough because it's not Olympic years, and that's sometimes where we get athletes. It's going to be a difficult one, I think, a little bit for voters. There's not a lot of debate. Well, I shouldn't say difficult. There's not a lot of debate. I think Jamal Murray will be in the conversation. I think
as an NBA champion.
He wasn't part of the Canadian run, so he's not with that.
I was going to say SGA would be really tempting.
He would be one.
Yeah.
Nick Taylor.
Yeah.
When it comes to winning the RBC Canadian Open.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to think female-wise. Did Brooke Henderson win any titles this year? I think she did, so she'd be in contention. But it's like it's Connor McDavid's not in this year. I don't think there's an NHL or a hockey player I would kind of throw out there this year.
The break?
Just a random break dancer?
Well, no, wasn't there a kid who won like Pan Am Gold and is now representing Canada at the Olympics, the Summer Olympics?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think so. You better cover it. It'll be hot.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I wouldn't even know.
If the Bombers would have won, I would have thrown Brady Olivier into the conversation.
Sure.
I bet like this unbelievable season as a running back, winning a Grey Cup, I think he would be in the conversation at that point.
Can you just, you can't, but I would be tempted, and I'm biased on this, I would be tempted to split it up between the men's and the women's Tennis Canada squads that are current Davis Cup and Billie Jean Cup champions.
Well, I think they've...
Talk about the most under-talked about sporting story. Like, if you had told 12-year-old me that not only would Canada develop some of the best tennis talent in the world, but that in the same calendar year, the men's side and the women's side would win the world tournaments, I never would have believed that.
That's interesting because they have won the Davis Cup, but like, don't you feel like Chapo and Felix and Bianca especially, they've really taken I'm not going to say a step back.
Well, they haven't maintained.
They haven't maintained, but since
you
Bianca
had
won in
breakthrough
2019,
wins. Like,
it was like she hasn't been close. Like, and a lot of injuries. Chapo at one point after I think he was ousted, he said, "I'm going to retire." But he's just fired up. Felix is always struggling in the long matches, so like they were coming up and we're all pumped, but now they've kind of they haven't.
But the Davis Cup and Billie Jean Cup also goes to the depth that's in the system,
for sure.
right?
There's tons, right? Like now we're not just watching one Canadian.
Yeah,
there's like
one
6.
Canadian who's training in Monaco full time, right?
I just wish, and I sometimes, and it's true, I forget how young they are.
Yeah,
but I just like you're always want them to take that next step, and it feels like they've all kind of just stayed there for now.
Well, they're also competing in a truly world sport,
of course, 100%,
right? So your competition level is so much higher and so much more consistent. 100%. Like there's always somebody hungry and younger than you coming up behind you.
Like I'm a big Andreescu fan when she won. I was watching with Maddie when she won the U.S. Open, and like,
you got mad at me. I almost jinxed it.
Yeah, and I love like the passion she plays with, but like it's frustrating because one, she can't stay healthy.
Right.
Yeah. And two, then she just like she'll be up a set and then drop 2 like 6-1, 6-1, and you're like, what the hell happened?
Oh no, she's a cowboy out there.
Like, yeah. So it's like it's frustrating because you know how good and great she can be, but there's something there that's a little off right now.
You've also described current women's tennis though as well.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there is
100%.
They are definitely in a post Serena swoon.
Yeah.
There's no domination always at the top. But any tournament it could be.
But they're
anyone,
also
almost.
suffering from 2 decades of Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Right? Where she just came in and mowed the competition down for 2 decades straight. So there was not that chance for the next one to come along.
I found an article of just some of the people that they are discussing. On there is Leylah Fernandez because she kind of led the way for them winning that tournament, and she won her 3rd singles title this year. So she would be up there. On this list actually is Trey Ford was on this list.
Okay. Really?
Nice. He's not. Gonna be there, but maybe one day.
Yeah,
seeing how depending on the CFL season he has.
Yeah,
there's a guy that could potentially win. Well, we did see John Cornish win it quite a few years back. It was such a great Canadian / CFL moment when he won because cameras went to go talk to him and he was working as a teller at TD at the time and he had to take a break to go stand outside and be interviewed with his full TD name tag on and stuff. It was awesome.
Usually not super hockey bro positive
sport guy,
but but like shouldn't it be Connor McDavid?
No, because he didn't win any championships type thing, and that's what we've seen historically from the Northern Star. Is you got and this is what hurt Connor was not being at the Olympics last year. The NHLers, even if he just wins an an Olympic gold,
he is head and shoulders the best player in the most important sport in the country. And just completed a season that we haven't seen in a generation and a half. So I know that there are reasons, but when there is no standout, when you have a year where there is no one who rocked the world,
pretty fair.
Then shouldn't your default just be, okay, go find me the best hockey player? Who had an incredible, a legendary season.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. Maybe it is Connor this year then because of that. Maggie McNeil, silver, bronze, and 7 medals at the Pan Am Games and the World Aquatic Championship. Summer McIntosh won 2 golds at the World Aquatic Championships along with 2 bronzes.
If you're an Olympic sport athlete, you
think.
Don't get to win in non-Olympic years. Right.
Is Alfonso there?
No. Because what did he do? Because often this award actually does come down to winning something. You do have, and that's what it was going to hurt Connor. And that's where, last year, if the NHLers with the Olympics in Beijing and Canada wins, it's then natural that Connor's going to win that year because he'd be part of that team. He would lead them to something. Even if there's a World Cup of hockey, if he leads Canada to that, or if he ever wins the Stanley Cup with the Oilers, he's winning that year, just hands down.
Then it's Jamal Murray, right? He won an NBA championship, and it's not like he was off the bench guy. He was their second best player.
But he was not in the MVP discussion. Did did Nash not win this award when he was winning MVPs in the NBA?
I can pull it up because I do respect this award because they choose not.
Nash was not winning NBA titles. He was just clearly the best player in
but I think winning an NBA title does help.
No, but I'm saying Nash. I'm pretty sure Nash won this award.
Yeah,
right? And he was not winning an NBA title. He was just the best player in that league, and so that's why Connor McDavid didn't win a Stanley Cup. But there's no one even in the conversation for comparables. So
Nash won in 05. So one of the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when was the last time hockey won? Marie-Philippe Poulin won last year. Again, the Olympic year for that. Last time before that was Carey Price in 15 for hockey.
Wow.
You know something? Actually, as you convinced me, I think I'm convinced that it's McDavid then, or should be.
It should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nick Taylor winning the RBC Canadian Open was a great moment.
But it's
not
one tournament,
a full season type thing where we're talking about he went and won a major or something.
Right.
Like you go win the U.S. Open, it's a little different because of what the U.S. Open is on the PGA calendar versus the Canadian Open, even though it's a great field usually nowadays. Yeah. Although not an elevated event this year. Gilgeous Alexander, leading Canada is a big thing. Had a great season, but he didn't have a historic season.
Yeah, had a great personal season. His team was...
Well, and but Connor, the Oilers didn't have a great season type thing.
But he got off to a slow
start. But then he has a historic season. And there is a point Connor needs to win this award.
Yeah.
You can't have this award and not have it.
And the Oilers were a 105-point team, were they not?
Yeah.
So
I think I wouldn't mind seeing Connor then win it this year. Because next year, unless he wins the Stanley Cup next year, he's probably not going to win it next year.
He's still allowed to win it back to back.
But there's a Summer Olympics.
How many times
there's
did
going to be an
Gretzky
elevation for it. There's going to be an elevation for that.
Crosby won in 07 and 09.
Yeah.
They didn't win the Cup in 07. They won in 09.
Right.
But they were... that was year 2. Gretzky won it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. But we also are in a time where I think, maybe I'll correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot more athletes doing things top level across all sports.
I agree.
So it's hard, and that's the one thing I do love about this award is that they actually don't focus on hockey. If we were just
talking about wow, Connor McDavid led the league in scoring, that's not enough. Connor McDavid didn't just lead the league in scoring. He set historic totals.
I'll tell you where Alfonso could win it next year.
Copa America.
Well, if he wins, now they got destroyed this week in Bayern. If Bayern goes and wins Bundesliga, they qualify for Copa America and have a nice run at Copa America, there's a chance he wins it next year.
Yeah.
Because they honestly do look at success in terms of titles.
And the story as
right?
well.
And that's... So, Canada goes to Copa America and gets to the semifinals, loses to Argentina in the semis. Be a big deal.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but... and that's it's an Olympic year next year, and that's why I would be, and it's not a Winter Olympic year next year. That's why I'm hesitant to be I don't think Connor will be the favorite next year unless the Oilers go win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But this year, absolutely, you've convinced me. I think it could or maybe should be Connor.
Yeah.
And then in 2026 would be tough.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that's the Winter Olympic year. And if Canada's there and they go win the gold, it puts them there. But it's also Men's World Cup soccer in Canada, which might elevate some things. But no, I think Connor would be the favorite going into that season. Because all he has to do is go win one thing that season in terms of a team success. And Connor's going to be right away, I think, the winner that season. Mm-hmm. Unless someone else has this historic, great something else.
I was going to say, if a Canadian scores a goal in the World Cup, that could be really big.
No, if Canada had a men's World Cup in Canada, U.S., Mexico, if we go to round of 16,
that's big.
I think that'd be massive.
First time ever.
You get out of your group, you win one knockout game in the round of 32, and you get to the round of 16.
How many goals did Canada score the last World Cup? They scored against...
Yeah.
Only one? They didn't score against Morocco?
No, we scored 2, yes. Both were from Albertans. Yeah. Well, Atakubi's ultimately was an own goal by Morocco, but he scored from... He's from Calgary, and Alfonso scored the great cross from Tasia.
That was great.
That was
a start.
We don't need to talk about anything else after
And then
that
it fell
moment.
apart real quick.
You had your moment.
Well,
Yeah. Speaking of in-season tournament, you had an in-game tournament.
What? They need now a real manager.
They should have scored against Belgium.
They need a real manager. Except, you want to know something? Like that penalty are you thinking of? Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. Looking back, I would rather have Canada's first goal at the Men's World Cup being that cross-headed as opposed to a penalty kick.
Yeah, it was a great goal, but still.
Like, to now say that was our first goal, that was a glorious moment.
It was a beautiful goal, yeah.
But they need an actual manager to
they do.
to get them to that next
They
level.
also just need some money.
Well,
They need corporate Canada to step up.
But that's the issue, is that if corporate Canada steps up, they don't get the money. It goes to that Canadian Business Coalition or whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah.
Because of the deal Canada Soccer signed years ago by giving up all this money right now, when you're going to hit a golden age of men's soccer, hey, let's give away all of our money preemptively.
Yeah.
They don't even train like a professional, like a World Cup team.
No, that's right.
Like the players have come out and said, they're like, we're treated like we're just a regular club team that's playing in third
Well, but that's
division.
also Soccer Canada is.
Yeah.
That is the most. If you want to know what has held soccer back the most in Canada, it is the organizations in charge of soccer in this country. It's
terrible.
Groups of old men who have been basically handed down their positions from their own fathers and uncles and what have you, who have really no interest in growing the game. They just want to protect their turf. And that goes from province to province to province, and from within those provinces, from zone to zone to zone. It is the most disjointed, competitive in all the bad ways system you could ever have. Like, it is wild, the stories you hear and the pettiness that is involved that affects these kids that are on the pitch. But that's all the ranting I have about that. But if you want to know what has held back soccer in Canada, it is that. It's because the people who would like to get involved, who could make a real change, refuse to work with the people who are already in place because they don't want to have any part with the things that they are doing and continue to do. So, and I mean, we are talking about misappropriations of funds, time, effort, all of the above. Like, it's a
disaster.
But it's also...
And they're lucky because they have this golden age coming up right now based on luck for them. They didn't build this up.
Like, Parliament
they're going to
hauled basically all of Hockey Canada before them for good reason. And I agree with that. I just wish that we had the same sort of involvement in other areas of sport in this country, because there are houses that need to be cleaned that have not been cleaned for generations.
I also look at it too as on the pitch, like you said, like Alphonso Davies is not a product of the Canadian Federation.
They didn't target, it wasn't because we had great development that Alphonso Davies became what he is.
You're just saying natural ability.
He was just brilliant.
And it's not like Canada Soccer 20 years ago was like, hey, we're going to settle in on really developing these. And they helped create the systems in place for Tejon Buchanan to step up.
He went to Germany.
For Jonathan David to step up. For all these guys. I feel like Canada's got lucky that there's all this on this talent pool.
But I'd also say that Alphonso Davies got lucky. Like, for the majority of high-end talent, there's that what they call the hothouse effect, where you want to get as many high-skilled, high-competitive guys into one room, and they'll just keep pushing each other to higher levels. But there is the odd outlier that actually affects the development of high-end players. And I am curious if that's not who Alphonso Davies is. That you're talking about a kid who was a refugee, who came to Canada, who benefited from the shelter that a town like Edmonton gave him, where there is a soccer community that loves the sport, that will invest the time, but it's also not going to crush your head or your spirit, right? Like, it's going to allow you the time and the ability to just be a star and go out and dominate. There's not going to be anybody out there who's, for the most part, targeting knees or careers or whatever to try and put one up on you. And I think he definitely benefited by that, because it allowed him to get the attention of a Vancouver Whitecaps, for example, that then were able to start to actually put money into his development.
But Alphonso Davies, he's naturally gifted.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Yeah, and he went to Germany at a young age, and they molded him into the player he is. And I think
it was way expected.
You look at Canada's best player, Eustáquio, an overall
important player,
most important.
He's the most important player success of Canada.
He's raised in Portugal, playing with European soccer, and you can tell
And that's the hothouse effect. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Tage Buchanan too. Like these guys weren't like they started here and they're just naturally gifted, and then they were founded by other clubs that made them the players they are. So when you look at the player development here, like I think Steve Sandor had a great tweet last week, guest of the Hangout, and he said if you watch soccer nowadays and at the field house where I work, the kids are playing soccer every day.
Oh yeah,
every day, and you see them. There's a lot of skilled players, but there's 20 kids playing. 19 wants to be Messi. They have the ball. They try to deke out 5-6 guys. There's that one kid that moves the ball well. That you're like, okay, that kid gets it. So we're already teaching these kids the wrong way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because deking out 5-6 guys, that's for the greatest. That's for the elite of the elite, and that's when it's called upon. But we're not teaching our players how to properly play soccer. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be Ronaldo or Messi, and I get it. In hockey, everybody wants to be Connor McDavid.
In basketball, all the kids are trying to shoot threes to be Steph, but as opposed to focusing on.
Until we get coaches at every level that stop the kid and say, "You deke out 2 guys, you're going to sit on the bench."
Yeah,
because that should come. Like that's just something that comes in instinct in the game. Like I can take this guy on.
That's a championship moment.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That is not a 35 minutes in, right?
You don't coach that. You don't like. Yeah, I need you to dig out 3 guys and goes. No, but teach them the right way to play the game. And the guys that can take guys 1-on-1, let them. Like you let them be free, but you also teach them. Case like can't do it every time. You got to move the ball. You got to do this. You got to do that.
Well, in that game against Jamaica, Davies tried to take on a number of guys 1-on-1, and he wasn't having success.
What was I telling you? The last 10 minutes, they take out their most important player in the stadium, and then what did Alphonso Davies want to do? Down the line, and he's not a 1-on-1 guy. He's not. Unless it's speed and he has an open field, it's different. But when he's going head-to-head 1-on-1 guy, he loses the ball every time.
Yeah.
Right? But he's like, I'm Alphonso Davies. I need to save this team. And he's playing a brand of soccer that doesn't suit him.
He also probably has a lot of sponsors who are whispering in his ear about how much more money he can make if he is the star.
See, and that's what I'm intrigued by his next move, because there's talk of him going to Real Madrid,
which would be enormous.
There's also talk now recently of him actually extending with Bayern.
Oh.
But it seems like wherever he goes, he's staying in that left back spot, which I'm intrigued because that's not, I feel like I envision that he'd probably want to go play a different position and play more forward club-wise, because he became a left back in with Bayern out of necessity for Bayern. They're like, well, we need someone there. Alphonso just slotted in, and then he's become one of the best, if not the best left back in the world. But he can play higher up, but Bayern doesn't need him higher up because he's now proven that he could be a left back. And I think with Real Madrid too, they would want him as a left back. And I thought if he'd want to move away from Bayern, he'd want to take that forward position. But it seems like he's good without taking it.
But now, Matty, there's a lot of players, and I follow Chile obviously, and a lot of South American players. Alfonso's, if you look at a lot of the World Cup teams, a lot of their players on their club play a different position, and then they go to their country, and then. Let's say, for example, Chile's not as strong, so they play one of their best midfield. They'll play him as a center back because he can play both.
Yeah.
So it's not crazy to think that Alfonso will be a fullback his whole career in club, but on Canada he'll move up a spot. Right?
But I thought he'd be interested in moving up club wise, and that's what I thought he'd look for in his next move. Was I want to go play more forward. I'm going to go to the Premier League, or I'm going to go to another spot to go play more forward.
But when you've made your career,
he's not now, and I'm just surprised. Yeah, and he's one of the best.
I mean, if Real Madrid, the biggest soccer club in the world, is saying we want you as our left back, or he goes to
second biggest.
Oh jeez.
Or he goes to Crystal Palace because he can play higher up.
He wouldn't go to Crystal Palace.
No, but I'm saying
because honestly, right now, he'd still be able to go to a big club and play higher up. If he said cleared his throat and said Manchester United, I'd go to you, but I'm playing upwards. If they were interested, they'd play him upwards. There are certain, like Arsenal, or there's certain clubs that if he wanted to play up and he went for that move, there would be top. It wouldn't be Crystal. He could, I still think, get a top club and go play forward. But if Real Madrid is saying we'll play left back,
who's the biggest club for you? Manchester United.
Truthfully, commercial-wise, they are to me. I think they are the biggest.
That's probably a North American bias, though, too.
Well, it's really it's between them, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. I think are the top 3 clubs in the world, and it could change marketing-wise, commercial-wise, interest-wise. And I think the one thing for me that I think gives Manchester an edge is that they're English. Yeah, and there is a bigger attention on EPL versus La Liga. I think
you probably watch more EPL here than you do
in North America. So results wise, it's not United. I'm not that much of a fan to be delusional in that way, But commercial-wise, Manchester United still is a top club. And it's right there. And I think at times it can be bigger than Real Madrid still. That they matter.
Don't you think you can say that about the top 4 in the EPL, though?
No.
Like, City's pretty big, though.
No, they're not.
So's
they're not as
Liverpool,
big.
man. Like,
Liverpool, yes. I won't put City. Like, City isn't as big. They're a recent success. They're a recent club. I don't think they're like, there is a lot of interest in City. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. There's not this. Like, they struggle selling out their stadium. Their fans don't even show up fully there. So, like, you look at the Forbes top value franchises, and part of that comes down to your commercial marketing.
Yeah.
Manchester United's there with Real Madrid.
Means less and less.
Pardon?
In stadium attendance means less and less year after year, right? Like,
well, not over there. It's embarrassing. What other clubs will mock you for it? Go support your team. Go support there. Go show up. Why do you have Instagram?
You're a fan of the U.
That's different.
Well, you know what's interesting though? I don't know if this year they still have it, but La Liga was on TSN for a few years.
It's been the last 2 years.
Yeah, like, you can watch La Liga games more than you can EPL.
Do you know what's
here.
funny? They got that
How
deal.
crazy is that?
They got that deal as soon as Messi went to PSG, and Ronaldo was out of the league. Like, it was the worst time to get La Liga in a sense.
La Liga probably just finally answered their phone calls.
Well,
right?
Yeah. No, what happened was what happened was ESPN got the deal.
Yeah.
And in the ESPN release, it said at the very bottom that this includes TSN in Canada.
I see.
So for some reason, because I think ESPN still owns
some
like
sort of content sharing
30%
between
of TSN or something like that.
Yeah.
There was something done where ESPN got it for TSN in that way, and that's why that one happened.
Because EPL, you can get one game Saturday, Sunday on NBC, I think it is.
One game, sometimes a weekend on NBC.
Yeah. And it's usually not a big team.
It's that window.
Yeah.
Once in a while, there's a big team, and it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Forbes, EPL, or soccer.
I just wish
clubs.
we had more EPL like they did in the old days, because it's such a fun league to watch.
Well, they are trying to build a domestic, like MLS and everything else.
So Real Madrid is number 1 according to Forbes. Current values. United second. Barcelona's 3. Like I said, those are the top 3. Then it goes Liverpool. Then it goes Man City. Then it goes Bayern, PSG, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal. Those are your top 10. But
so 6 EPL in the top 10.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the thing about United and why there's such a big deal.
What's that?
I said, what about Richmond?
Oh.
Manchester United hasn't won really since 13.
Yeah.
And they're still one of those top franchises that one day, if they ever get back to winning
they're
Premier
the
Leagues and getting winning Champions League, like that's why United's still such a powerful
that
commercial
jersey,
marketer.
that red, that look.
It matters.
They'll always be relevant.
Yeah.
And so that's why they'll still be up there. But like Real Madrid, if Alphonso Davies was Real Madrid, how crazy would that be?
That'd be amazing. I'd actually watch Real Madrid if he was on there.
Whoever was whispering in he and his parents' ears when they made the decision for Bayern Munich, just keep listening.
Oh, 100%.
Like, just keep like that was not an easy choice to make, because I guarantee Bayern came and said, your kid's not going to play a lot.
That's what I thought.
Right off the hop.
We all thought that.
Your kid's not going to play a lot. We're going to work on his game. We're going to develop this.
I thought they'd loan him out.
We're going to turn him into the player we think he can become. Yeah. And they have held true to that guarantee. Like, and so whoever whispered in your ear and said, go there, keep listening to them.
Let's be honest, because Europeans are not looking for Canadian players. Let's just the reality.
I think it's changing now.
Yes.
I think they've seen this market and going, this is an untapped potential. Yeah. There are some occasional players that they can find here. But before, no.
I remember we were having conversations at the other place and we're like, there's no, like, he'll start on the bench. I think I even said it on the air, like, this guy's going to take a year or two to maybe be a starter. And then the person that found him, I remember there's an article on him in Bayern Munich, and he goes, no, like, let's get this kid on the second team right away practicing. And then the coach is like, man, this guy can play on our first team. Like, and they needed a left back. And he started playing right away, and I was blown away. So for a Canadian kid at 18, 19, he start for Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
It's just unreal. So, I mean, all the credit goes to the guy that found him and said, hey, let's push this guy into the lineup, and he can do it. And Mueller, who plays with him, a veteran guy, he goes, yeah, he was a little raw at first. Like, he would just take off and run.
He was the road runner, he called him.
Yeah, the road runner. And he goes, we had to kind of like get him to play like our system. And then like, look what he's done. He's taken off. And he's known worldwide. Like, I watch shows from South America, so like I follow the qualifying there. And when they bring up Canada in the World Cup, they're talking about Alphonso Davies.
Sure.
Alphonso Davies might be the biggest Canadian star right now in the world.
In the world? Yeah,
he'd be one of them. Most known. He'd be bigger than McDavid.
Yeah, well, he plays a much more important sport
but
around
that's the
world.
thing. Like that would put him in an echelon where it's worldwide, it's global, and this guy does play for Bayern Munich, and that there's a value to that. He plays in Champions League. He's won a Champions League. He had that big goal at the World Cup. Alphonso Davies is a known brand across this world, and there's naturally just more people interested in soccer or football than in hockey, that he becomes arguably our best or most known player. And I would say after that, it might be tennis players that might be next or things like that. You know,
I mean, McDavid is on there.
I'm not saying he's not
because
involved,
the age of YouTube and the internet, even non-hockey fans they look at clips of incredible things, and Connor McDavid is a highlight reel. Right?
I would guess if we went through the Asian market or the European market, and showed them two photos. Alphonso Davies, Connor McDavid. Who do you know?
Agree. Yeah,
it's gonna. I think we would have more people saying, "I know Alphonso
that's also
over
nature
McDavid."
of a sport where guys wear helmets and shields and like
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm not trying to like take anything away from Connor, but like the sport he plays with and
Hockey's,
what Davies. But it's also where Davies plays.
I'd
like
also,
Tajon Buchanan's not known by a lot of people, not known by Canadians.
Yeah.
But he's a great soccer player. Well, Stefan Eustaquiev, as you point out, he is actually the most important player to Canada's soccer success right now on the men's side. It is not Alphonso Davies. Yeah. If we lose Alphonso Davies for a couple of games, Canada could deal with that as long as Stefan Eustaquiev was there. Yeah. If we lose Stefan Eustaquiev, Alphonso Davies could be there, and we're going to struggle because we don't have the natural midfield replacements for someone like a Eustaquiev.
That's a position as well, and that's true.
But it's also
everywhere.
where Davies plays. Yeah. He plays at Bayern Munich, which is a big deal. And if he goes to Real Madrid, like that takes him to another level because it's Real Madrid.
What I'd be really interested in, and it's obviously recency bias.
And before you, that was Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty, Realty One Group Insiders. Check them out, marcoandmike.com. Sorry, Mo.
Christine Sinclair, I would wonder how big her name is internationally, because
I don't think it's big.
Because
we
don't know. We don't know because we're not a soccer nation. We also don't know because we don't know how big the women's game has become around the world. It has definitely grown by a factor of 10. Like, it is a seriously invested in sport around the world now. And so, like, for example, in Canada, we don't watch a lot of women's hockey, but we do know who the top players in women's hockey are. So I wonder if it's the same sort of thing. Like, is Christine Sinclair not necessarily revered, but once again, if you threw up a picture of her, would most soccer fans go, yeah, that's Christine Sinclair? Because she is a top 3 player of all time in women's soccer.
100%. Well, she is the best goal scorer internationally. Men, women.
Right.
Like, you're right.
Best as far as just numbers.
She's never scored.
I think she might be known a lot more in European, even in South America, like in the Latin American countries, because women's soccer is really growing in those countries. Like,
but it's only starting to grow.
Yes,
she was like Christine Sinclair in her prime wasn't playing when women's soccer was big. We're just seeing the European countries.
She never played in Europe, did she?
No, I don't believe so. Like, European countries are only starting to grow the women game. Like, Spain winning this past one is a big deal because now these European countries have started to develop their women's side. You see the clubs starting to add women's teams, and they're adding an addition to the Champions League. I think there's going to be a second Champions League for the women's side. So this is only a recent thing where the women's game over there in Europe and around the world is starting to be developed. And that's not when Christine Sinclair was in her prime. And so I don't know if she would have that
Her final game as a former broadcaster drove me crazy, the lead up to it, because I just felt like the story they were telling about her was so surface level, right? Like, if I had to see one more interview of some 12-year-old girl saying, yeah, she really makes it interesting, like, it as someone who watched her here in Edmonton as, what was she, 17 then?
The O2 one?
Yeah. And then like followed her through her career. Like, no. Christine Sinclair was a monster. Like, she was an absolute killer, and she was physically intimidating to the rest of the women out on the pitch. Like, the reason she played as long as she did is because there was no one who could match up against her when she put herself where she wanted to go. Like, the lack of understanding of, like, she was a really good soccer player, and it's like, no, stop. She defined her position. Like, she has women all over the world who are of similar build and athleticism, having coaches going, ooh, we might have a little Christine Sinclair there, right? Like she became shorthand for the style of play that she played, right? She defined it. And that kind of drove me crazy when they were like looking back on what did she accomplish? Well, she won an Olympic gold medal. And they listed off all those surface accomplishments, but to me, it goes so much deeper for a player of that quality that, once again, as Canadians, we're blind to just how good of an athlete we had on our home turf. Like, she was dynamite and will continue to be. Like, people will just reference her playing style going forward at future World Cups and Olympics. They'll be like, a Christine Sinclair-esque goal was just scored, right?
Remember her and Carol Lang?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
This
man.
is the start. Like, I'm actually sad by Carol Lang's career. Like, she
Well,
battled
that
knee
was
injuries.
her.
That was injuries, yeah.
No, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's sad that
But
like
she had the
her
potential
career
to be just as good.
Oh no, she was going to be great,
different.
and dealing
Yeah.
with the knee injuries, like it's
Yeah.
like what could have that career have been too?
Yeah.
So that one always makes me
When
sad.
they played here,
Well, she was 16. Carl Lang was 16.
She was really young
She
at that
was
one.
an unreal player, man. Unreal. Yeah. Good for Christine. I really enjoyed her last game. Just seeing her family there, and the crowd was awesome. And they won. Yeah, they did win.
Yeah, it was 1-0. She was in part of the goal.
Yeah, on the corner kick there. So it's good to see her. And like I said, she'll go down as the greatest here in Canada.
Oh,
I mean, they'll put
Greatest
her up.
soccer player.
They'll
that
put
we
her
have.
up against some of the American ladies as well, because there's some
Yep.
really great ones there as well. And Marta from Brazil, but she's in the conversation.
Yeah,
which is
top-
amazing.
that's what I'm-
She has to
mean.
be.
She's top
You can't
three.
be the best goal scorer ever
Yeah.
and not be part of the conversation with that.
Yeah.
She is. The thing that's going to hurt her in that conversation is she's Canadian. And we
Yeah.
don't pump
Well,
out our
and-
Canadians as much, and we don't
and-
promote
and
like
lack of a
the
World Cup.
Americans promote. But that's why she needed that goal. So she got the gold. But the Americans love promoting their people. They love promoting their stars. They're great self promoters. They are amazing at that. And Canada doesn't do that well enough. And so, like, it will be easy, I think, at times for like those conversations often are led by the U.S. people, right? And she will then be pushed back a little bit because they'll
She was
focus on the
Canadian.
Americans,
Yeah.
right?
She was with the friendly Canadian squad.
I think that's just the fact that the United States is 10 times the size. So it
8 times now.
It may feel like there is more, but it is really regional, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but you go down to Tennessee and no one knows who Amy Wambach is. Like Abby Wambach. Like there is just
Because it's Bulls football, baby.
right, exactly, right.
talk about
like
Bulls football.
and similar sort of thing, right? Like if you're in the Portland area, everyone knows who Prefontaine was, like one of the greatest distance runners of all time. But you go to North Carolina and no one cares who Prefontaine was, right? Like there is regional exposure that we just don't have in Canada because we're not the same size, right?
No, it's crazy how there's a feel of us second largest country in landmass, but we're still very close.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's anything that happens across the country, it's a big deal. Like even if you just go to a news-wise, there's a big news story, whatever it might be that happens in Halifax. It will hit the country.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not the U.S. is just so big. You just don't, you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's so many things happening. Actually, now let's actually get to this other story then. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Hernan Salas, Wil Fraser, U.S. versus Canada. It looked, last Hangout that we had on Friday, it looked like the star was going to leave the U.S. and come to Canada. And on Saturday instead, it all changes.
Otani.
And he stays there.
Yeah.
I'll say this, like, I know that Morrissey fellow's taking a lot of heat, whatever. I had fun on Friday. That was great. Scrolling Twitter, seeing all the reports, Eric posting about where the plane was, and every time it got into a different state, like,
He was having fun with that.
it was fun. It was exciting, and it seemed like it was close. And was it a kick in the gonads for sure on Saturday when you see the Dodgers? But I mean, people that are so upset about it, it's like
it was upsetting up until the point they announced the dollar figure. And as soon as I saw $700 million, I breathed a sigh of relief as a Jays fan and as a Cubs fan who were also supposedly in on the bidding as well, because that is franchise ruining money. Yes, he is the best player in the world, hands down. Like no one does what he does, but also no one's going to be able to do what he does for very long, right? His body will break down, and it will break down well in advance of the end of this contract.
But the
and
Dodgers, that's not franchise dollars for them. Like their franchise can handle. They could withstand.
Yes,
that.
the Dodgers and the Yankees are the only two teams that can survive this type of a contract. Any other team, what it'll do to your locker room, what it'll do to your negotiating ability at the table afterwards, like even the Jays right now are worried about their upcoming contract talks with some of their other players, because now all of a sudden the ask just went up by $10 million because they're going, well, you clearly have the money. If you were in on this, you've got the money available to you.
Toronto has the money. Like, if they would have got him at 600, like if Otani picks him, they're paying him.
Yeah, no, and it's the story that it went to was Rogers would have got out of the NHL TV deal after 2 years. They're paying $500 million the next 2 years. So they would have had to take in that hit of $560 million for 2 years. But then after that would be off the books. They would leave the NHL TV deal on the table. And in a sense, they're actually saving money. I know that sounds really weird to say, but them not getting back into the NHL and instead focusing on the Jays, where they don't have to pay money for those broadcast rights because they own it.
Crazy Japanese money out there as far as broadcast is concerned. Like there must be big time sponsorship.
No, they would have just
dollars.
focused on the Canadian part of that.
The Toronto Blue Jays, I'm saying. I'm not saying Rogers. I'm saying the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, that is Rogers.
It is and it isn't. Like the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be able to shop access to Otani around the world, right? Like, so...
Well, we saw what happened with
the Honda bucks
Ichiro,
or the Toyota bucks or
Yeah.
whatever must be huge when you're doing these types of calculations for a $600 or $700 million. Like, you don't make that kind of a contract offer if you already don't have an accountant saying, yeah, if we get this, then we'll get this, and this, and that'll pay for it.
I think Toronto would have been fine. Just every game sold out. Like, you know that.
They would have been fine until he wasn't the player that he was. And then all of a sudden you've got a huge boat anchor.
But if you win a World Series in the next 4 years,
you're
cool.
It's worth it.
It's
absolutely
completely worth it.
But
you just have to win. Did somebody's phone drop?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
But we already know Otani's not going to be the player he was last year in this year, right?
Well, he's only going to be a hitter, not a pitcher.
Yeah, and so you're already paying for a diminished product in year one.
Did you guys see the conspiracy theories around this?
Oh, yeah.
No, dude, I try and stay away from that.
This is how it all broke. Like, this is where people have figured things out.
I am not surprised you are all over this.
I've seen the tweets on this. It's fun. So, how do I'm trying to figure out where to begin with all of this. So, the CAA is the agency that represents Shohei Otani.
Yep.
There is the account that first pointed out the private jet that was flying from, which, by the way, being a Dragon's Den, that's just amazing. But the first tweet that posted that was apparently connected to someone with the CAA that hadn't posted in years.
Okay.
They also then have deleted their account since this all broke down. CAA's client, one of their clients, is actually Robert Herjavec, who is the Dragon Den Dragon.
Yeah.
He is one of their clients as well. So there's a belief out there that the CAA, to try to get more money from the Dodgers, had Herjavec on this flight to go from Anaheim to Toronto, got it out there that this flight is happening, told John Morosi, hey, Otani's on this plane.
Yeah.
That's why Morosi went with it, because he thought he was getting it from a legitimate source.
I guarantee they didn't say he was on the plane. I guarantee it went something like this. Morrissey asked, is he on that plane? And they didn't say no.
Okay.
Right.
And so then that then got the Dodgers to be like, oh boy, we're going to lose him to Toronto. They jumped up to the $700 million. And that's how they got Otani that way. That it was this whole use. Because, like, how many people are ever going to find?
Yeah, but isn't that the job?
They set the league. They set up the flight. They set up Herjavec to be on it or something. Which I don't know if I don't
think that's a conspiracy theory. I think you're just describing how you do business.
Yeah, you're playing the game, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, did they actually go to Herjavec and be like, we need you to fly from Anaheim to Toronto today for this flight?
What's the agency's cut of this contract? 5%?
If it's 5%, like that's
I would bet it's 5% because he makes as much money as he does, that they've probably negotiated the rate down.
Or something. Oh, I see what you're saying.
They've probably negotiated the rate down, but it's at least 5%.
But you would have got a big money from Toronto.
$700 million. Like,
I don't know if I could go as far as they got a Canadian and Robert Herjavec to do this.
Like, and as agents, they don't need to do a
but they
single
leaked
thing more.
I think maybe they knew that he was taking a flight and they used it at that point.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating little theory that's now going around that the Jays just got completely used in all of this.
One of the reporters is JP Hoornstra. He's a Dodger guy. He's legit.
He used to cover the Kings. Yeah. He's a newspaper guy.
I used to book him back at the old place to talk Dodgers, back with Dino, because Dino was a Dodgers fan. And it's interesting because he also reported false.
Yeah.
But he hasn't apologized.
He doubled down actually on Saturday.
Yeah.
On Saturday, before Otani announced, he actually went, I stand by this. He's going to sign as the Jays eventually.
Yeah.
And so he's maybe don't double down after.
Maybe he's just holding out on it.
But
he goes, come on, guys. We haven't hit spring training yet.
Well, the deal's not done. The Dodgers haven't announced it yet.
Maybe he was working for the agency too.
The Dodgers haven't announced it yet because they have to get the medicals done.
There's a medical
and then they haven't
that.
fully announced it. But the Dodgers have yet to say he's there.
But, I mean...
How much would it cost for you to change your story? As a member of the media. How much would it, like, is there a dollar figure?
Oh, I'm a shit.
Is there a dollar? Like, first of all, let's ask the question.
To put my integrity there?
Yeah. Is there a dollar figure to your integrity?
Clearly there's for Morosi in a sense where it's not a dollar figure.
Or access.
It's access.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he's annoyed after that story went out and said, you lied to me.
Yeah.
But they said, trust me, dude, we'll give you something later.
Yeah.
Or we'll give you a couple things later. And he's going to get some stuff later that he could deal with looking bad. And he'll probably be like, you owe me big time. Because otherwise, if I'm Morosi and that source burned me like that, I probably would say who my source was. I would come out and say, this is why this happened. Because I look so poor. But clearly that's not going to happen because they're probably going to him and saying, we've got you.
Yeah.
We will take care of you when there's a couple of things. We've got you moving forward.
Or they already have taken care of him in the past, and this was the payoff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because, like, for it to be like, this was the biggest story.
Sure.
And for him to go out and say, yeah, like, no, he's on his way to Toronto. He's going to sign there. I love a documentary on who gave him that info.
Which might be the agency.
If it's his reputation on the line, screw that. I'd be like, these guys gave me this info.
But if those people then said, hey, sorry about that, we're going to give
I'd be like, who cares? You just made me look so bad on the biggest story in sports.
But now and
he'll always be remembered for this.
Yes. But if
there's also a chance he's a hack.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah,
there's also a chance that this is a guy who had one source, does not verify.
He didn't verify this clearly.
And we
did not verify this.
Know
he verified it twice
we
with the same agency.
We know this in all of sports reporting. The gatekeepers are gone. You don't have an editor anymore. You don't have anyone going, you can't go with this until you get a second and a third.
That's the thing. Where was his boss saying, can we get a second source?
Yeah.
Because you usually need a second source.
Well, we don't have those bosses anymore.
The only time, and I know just sometimes you don't go for the second source because you feel it's that legit, that it comes from first. And that's why I think this came from potentially the agency. But maybe he got a second source from the agency. That's where it was.
To be that confident to go with it and to get a whole nation.
And so the one thing I learned out of this, and I should have realized it on Friday, because the two guys that were very quiet on Friday,
Jeff Passan
and Ken Rosenthal, and those are the insiders.
Yeah.
And looking back, it was we all got caught up in Morosi and Hornstra and all of this. That it was, why did they not say anything? Why didn't they say, they didn't have a mention, I don't believe, of anything going on. And it's now going back, like they are the Elliot Friedman, Bob McKenzie, Darren Dreger of baseball. They're the Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. When they
probably have that backwards, but
what do you mean?
They're the Bob McKenzie and Elliot Friedman of baseball. I think
they're the hockey. Well, but for us in Canada, what we know, we like Ken Rosenthal and Jeff Passan have proven to be the guys.
Sure.
And I think now moving forward, it's cool. Somebody said something. Did Ken or Jeff say it?
Yeah.
Until they say it or a team says it, I'm not believing.
I'm happy you feel that way, and that is your job. You need to be holding the people that you talk about to a higher standard. But we've seen in today's world of social media, this isn't going to harm him. People will still
Morosi?
be
it's going to harm him in Canada.
They'll still be
Jays
retweeting his stuff.
Yep.
And even Jays fans.
No,
Jays fans will hold a grudge up until the point that he has another positive Jays spin that works out for the Jays. And then all will be forgiven. We have short memories for this stuff.
He'll always be remembered as this.
Something.
For you. You never forget anything.
He'll post something and people will chirp and be like, yeah, right, you're wrong, until he gets one right, and then he'll run with it. But I saw Bob Nightingale.
Yeah. Who's had his misses.
And he's chirping Morrissey and the integrity of journalism, and I'm like, bro, you've been wrong a lot. Like,
you write for the USA Today.
Yeah, it's kind of
careful. Your boy Gabe Locks does too.
It's kind of unfortunate that reporters are attacking this guy. Like, he went with his sources. He thought it was real. Like, I mean, because again, it wasn't just him. It was a guy from the Dodgers. There's a guy some Seaborn guy who said
Adam Seaborn.
Press conference at 6.
He's not a media guy. He's a media analyst, quote unquote. He does sales things for what's called Playmaker, which is actually the owners of the Nation Network.
Okay.
I don't know why he posted that, and then he didn't even apologize. He just made fun of it. And that to me, I don't like. Yeah. Like, at least Morosi did apologize and come out and be like I screwed up. Don't just laugh about how you screwed up and you got this whole city and this country in a frenzy by saying press conference at 4. You really screwed that one up.
We do live in an era where Moby tweets about politics and his inside takes, and we listen to him for that. So
I did not know Moby tweeted about this stuff.
All he's got is hot takes on politics these days.
Is it worth me reading?
No.
Okay.
It's social media. None of it is worth your reading.
Fair enough.
It's too bad though. But Bellinger's girlfriend posted a picture.
Right?
We're back on that one.
For sushi though too. Like, she knows what she's doing at that point.
And then I saw on Twitter this morning she deleted her post.
Of course she did, because Bellinger probably was like, "What are you doing here? We're getting all these calls." Like, I will actually. I'm annoyed also a little bit with Rogers for what they did to their fans for this.
So?
They had their writer, Shai Davidi, write an article saying fans got worked up and blaming fans for this, when the Sportsnet official Twitter account retweeted John Morosi's tweet, basically.
Yeah.
And then they pulled their afternoon show to put Jeff Blair and I can't remember who his co-host is to talk Jays on the Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And a Rogers entity like that doing that makes it seem like to Jays fans, they know something. We got to tune in for this. And and then to have a writer of theirs get mad and like wag his finger at Jays fans for getting all excited. It's like, you helped stoke the fires on this. You helped grow this.
He's a team guy. Like,
I know, but don't then call out the fans for being all excited when you helped stoke the flames. If Sportsnet was quiet all day, if they didn't retweet that stuff, if they didn't change their programming on one of their radio stations in Toronto to cover this a little bit more, like in a way that you think, hey, something's happening, then you have a right to be like, hey, you should have known better. But you stoked their fire, and then you went out and said, why would you guys get all excited like that? And I don't approve of. They wanted to sell season tickets. They wanted to grow their ratings on their radio show at the cost of their fans. And
they
I
wanted
just didn't
to miss
like that.
out on Soto.
But maybe at that moment, they thought they were getting. Maybe they were told that
by accounts afterwards. They didn't. The Jays didn't think they were like, it wasn't locked. That as of actually one article I think Tom Verducci had was, it was like as of when did they find out? Oh, I can't remember exactly when. Sorry, I don't want to say something wrong with that one. Because he made the decision
Saturday afternoon, right? He posted.
It was when it was posted.
Yeah.
And Friday it turns where the Dodgers came together on Friday to come up with the money. But I don't think the Rogers at any point felt that it was done, that he was going to be a Toronto Blue Jay.
But they were close.
And you stoked the fires or something. And that I just don't call out your fans in that way, or have an employee call out your fans in that way when you helped cause this. Well, that's just my issue with it. I
saw what season tickets were going for on Friday, and then after Otani made his decision, they dropped significantly.
Oh yeah. Only in retrospect, you look back at it and go, like, were the Jays ever actually really in it? In that, I did not see a athlete of his caliber who is Japanese moving away from the West Coast, just because there is the factor of he has a static fan base of probably 30 plus million people that want to be able to watch him play live. And you can't do that from Toronto.
when there's an article about like the 30+ Japanese reporters that
Right.
follow him, and they're like, we're gonna have to move our whole families
Right.
and move to Toronto, and I said, well, like
That's not Otani's problem.
that's not Otani's problem either.
No, but he might it might be part of his
Yeah,
consideration, right?
Well,
like
when it looked like he was going to Toronto, that was one of the I really wanted to know why Toronto. Because we've never seen that.
Right.
And it wasn't like the Blue Jays suck. No. It wasn't that. It was, I'm just legit was intrigued to be like, why are you choosing Toronto and not one of New York or LA type thing? Because that's historic, or San Francisco, because that's historically what we see, you know? And I was very intrigued by that. And I'm kind of sad now that he didn't choose to try to figure out that rationale, but obviously that isn't there. I do look forward to that long piece one day where it comes to how much did the CAA actually use the Blue Jays versus how much the Blue Jays were actually involved.
Yeah.
Or like it was actually a chance.
There needs to be a 30 for 30.
Yeah, like were the Jays just completely used in all of this to get this $700 million from the Dodgers?
You could make a documentary called The Pacing Horse, and it could star the Toronto Blue Jays and the San Francisco Giants, and you could sit down with both executive crews and just go through the litany of free agents they were second place on, and it would be a very long list. Like, it seems like every year it is one of those two teams that is like, oh, there's a good chance that this player so-and-so will be going, and then it's the next team that actually gets them. Like, I can't remember. They did a total for the Giants that it was one of those things where they were like, they're actually surprised the Giants weren't more in on this because they're usually the team that's used as the pacing horse for this. So I think it's CAA probably just changing up their tactics. Like they know the GMs that they can go to get a race going.
And that's just I want to know what the percent was Jays were being used and what the percent was that Otani was actually interested in the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well,
and that's the thing I'm very intrigued by all of this.
You're being used until the point that the team that you want to go to balks.
Yeah.
And then you sign with the team you didn't actually want to go to, but is paying you $100 million more.
How much
or
was
you
Otani
stick with
involved?
the Dodgers. Like, let's say that they don't come up and you go, okay, fine, I'm staying there because that's the team I want to go to.
Right.
But that's where I'm like, was there ever a real chance that he'd go to the Jays? If after everything happened on Friday, the Dodgers said, we're good, we're not going up, would have he chosen the Blue Jays if they offered him more?
Like if it was the same amount of money, no, he wouldn't have chosen.
If the Dodgers wouldn't come up.
But yeah,
If
the Dodgers,
was he going to just still stick with the Dodgers and take the less money, or would have he gone to Toronto?
Like if the Dodgers said you have to take a $50 million haircut to play in LA.
Well,
I could see CAA and Otani saying, absolutely, like, we're not going to let you get away with bullying us. We're gonna break your heart.
Did the Dodgers get him because they offered $100 million more?
Yes.
Although I did see
and because
one
they
thing,
were LA.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%.
I did see one thing that the Jays offer was actually relatively close to what the Dodgers
Well, the
did.
number I'm hearing is 600, which is crazy.
That
when
was
you're
on
saying
Friday,
600 and 700 are relatively close, and they are. Like, but it's also $100 million.
But so let's just say though, like the Dodgers highest offer is 550. Jays are going 6.
Yeah.
And they did this whole thing on Friday to get the Dodgers to come up more, and the Dodgers came up 7. But let's say the Dodgers said we're sticking at 550. What would have Otani done? I think he used the Jays and he would have stayed with the Dodgers at 550, or would he went, screw this, I'm going to Toronto, I'm taking the 600, which then is you use Toronto a little bit, but also you actually were interested in Toronto.
Yeah.
And that's I want to know
was Otani
kind of
in on it too? Like, hey, let's leak this, let's do this, or it's like agents just saying, let me do my work and just sit back and I'll get back.
I'd like to think it's that.
Toronto
like he has a number. He says, "Get me this number or something. This is what I want to do." But I don't think he's like, "Hey, yeah." They went to him. We're gonna leak this plane, and he went,
Toronto,
"Awesome, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it."
Toronto has won this situation on the flip side.
You think?
In their distant past, and it was Roger Clemens, and so Roger Clemens went to market. Thought he was going to make a certain amount of money, either staying in Boston or going to New York, and those teams lowballed him. And it was Toronto who came in with the money he was expecting, and he negotiated the right to be traded away. And so what do I think would have happened if it was competing offers that it was the Dodgers saying take a $50 million haircut? I think Toronto would have got him for $600 million, and they would have said after year 3, he can demand a trade. And Toronto would have gladly signed that.
Oh, the trade would have been.
That would have been a good lineup with him with the Blues. I mean, he's unreal lineup with the Dodgers, but
I will say too though, like Jays fans don't have to worry about attracting free agents as much, though, because they still do attract free agents, right? They brought in George Springer. They brought in Ryu. They brought in Gausman.
They're a top third franchise.
They're up there, right? Yeah, like, so it's not... Well, that was a trade. But it's not like you're a franchise that just can't get anyone, and you can't sign anyone. You're not going to be the franchise that apparently now gets the guys.
They are consistently making the postseason. They have now good organizational depth,
and you could still attract. Like if you get Cody Bellinger, it's not Juan Soto, and it's not Shohei Otani. That's a good baseball player you're adding to your team.
Oh, 100%.
If you can go get Bellinger, you're in a good spot here still. If you're the Toronto Blue Jays, it'd been nice if it was Otani. But still, like
Bellinger's, he's the one that always looks stoned, right? Have you seen him?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think they've asked him a few times. He's like, it's just my face, man.
Just my face. I have the same problem. I have the same problem.
Bring him.
It's just my face, man.
Well, his wife's in Toronto. So
girlfriend.
Is she a model or something?
I have no idea.
Someone said that on Twitter. She's there for.
They're all models, aren't they? Or something, you know.
But if she deleted her post, is it because he's saying, "Hey, stop leaking this stuff"?
In the age of Instagram,
don't stoke those fires. Because it was a picture of the CN Tower and then a picture of her going to sushi. And part of everything on Friday was that a restaurant with Kikuchi was like booked for 50 people and it was locked up. Like, so then you're posting a picture of sushi. Like you're like, you're stoking a fire.
And then someone posted, they're like, Kikuchi made that reservation for his wife's surprise birthday party. He ruined it. I was like, is this real? Like, what's going on?
Actually, we figured out who was on the plane. What happened with the sushi restaurant? Like, I want to know, like, how did that start?
How's there no pictures?
Also, Kikuchi makes restaurant clearing money. Yeah. Like, he could just not like dining with other diners.
Why is Kikuchi in Toronto still is my question.
All of this, we haven't dove into and found. I need that journal. I need Seth Wickersham to figure out what happened with the sushi and the restaurant. And like, is that fake? Did anyone confirm? Did anyone call that sushi place and see if there's any reservations available? Like,
it's true.
Someone should have just showed up and waited outside. And
but it was over because we knew he wouldn't land.
Sushimi,
we knew it was Robert Herjavec.
California rolls, like what dynamite roll maybe. Like what?
I love sushi.
Exactly, right? Like, I'm actually more interested in the menu. Yeah.
I just still love that it was a Dragon's Den dragon that came off that plane. Like, not just some random person, too. It was somebody we know.
Can I correct you on that one? It's still just a random person, man. Ooh, Dragon Den burn!
With a lot of money.
It's got that plane to fly.
The most tracked plane in history from LA to Toronto.
Kawhi was flown. Was it to Toronto or was it from Toronto to LA? There was a Kawhi plane.
It was Toronto.
There's a Kawhi.
Because he met in Toronto with his uncle, remember?
Yeah, Uncle Dennis.
Yeah, and then they took a plane right back to.
Well, actually, Shai Davidi.
You guys are all forgetting the dumbest, most tracked plane.
Mike Babcock. Yep.
That was
me and Eric were talking about that on Friday.
That was the dumbest tracked plane ever.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they tracked him for Toronto to sign him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was a track plane from Detroit to Toronto. Like it was this massive flight too, and all of that.
Detroit to Toronto.
I think it was. Yeah. It was the MLSE plane or something.
The dumbest tracked plane ever.
It was fully tracked. That's why, like, the Toronto fans.
That flight? Like what? Like.
Toronto fans were all gloating on the weekend, like, no one tracks playing like us in Toronto, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, I do have to get Rash McDanny actually had a tweet earlier on Friday instead of it being like, he actually fully said, instead of it, everyone's expecting that it's going to be Shohei Otani, Kawhi, and Uncle Dennis, but instead it's going to be some Dragon's Den person.
Oh, he got it.
Nailed that.
Nice.
So it was actually really funny seeing that. So well done, Arash. Reminder, anyone, store orders for EST should be coming into our merch partner, The Hive, sometime this week, and then they'll be sent to you. So hopefully they all get to you.
It's looking tight
before Christmas. Well, I think
not in a like. No, this is too small for me sort of way.
I believe everything will be in this week, and then they'll be able to ship it out there. But if you are looking for any promotional products, be sure to check.
Sorry, guys, I've got to go for a walk.
The Hive Product Marketing, the hiveproductmarketing.com, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports, stock products that bring the buzz. Check out the Hive Product Marketing if you are looking for any sort of promotional products as you head into the new year or sometime during the new year. Chelsea will take great care of you, or Brad, whoever you get at the Hive Product Marketing. They did fantastic work with everything we have here at EST. We got just a couple minutes left. Oilers, they're going to win the cup again.
Their season is saved.
Yeah, good on them.
Their season
They're
is
not
saved.
going through the December slump like they usually do.
No, their season is
They're
saved.
actually
And they
doing
beat
the complete
Minnesota,
opposite.
which they never do.
Minnesota.
And
Well,
yesterday,
they beat everyone they never do. Like, I mean, they've gotten 7 wins, and there haven't been too. Aside from Anaheim, has there been a lightweight in that schedule?
No.
Like, I guess maybe Washington.
But you know what's been great,
but
and I brought this up last time. I love when the Oilers play a team at the end of their West Coast road trip on back-to-backs. It does help.
Yeah.
And I heard Rashog talking with the boys earlier about what's the goalie's name? Pickard. It was surprising to see he was getting the start, but then when you think about it, you're like, New Jersey's won 3 straight on the road. They're probably due for a loss. They played yesterday in Calgary, picked up the win. Let's roll with...
And it's an afternoon start.
Yeah,
We
let's
needed
roll with
a reason to get the emotions rolling early. Yeah.
I thought it was a good
Chicago.
choice.
I thought he was going to get Chicago, but
But I don't think Chicago is just I don't think we should be guaranteeing a win.
no. But the Oilers
should win.
should be a better team. Where if you're looking for that spot, it's okay. That's a game you should be able to step up still,
100%.
and bail out your backup goalie. And that's where I think everyone went with Chicago. Now it's okay. Stuart Skinner's in that. You better win that hockey game. But
this should also be
by
the McDavid Draisaitl show coming up against Chicago because it is the new young gun coming up.
Bedard versus McDavid.
Like we saw that early in McDavid's career. Every time he played against Crosby or any other superstar, there was the comparisons. And we saw the superstars respond, right, to the challenge. And I expect McDavid, who is right now in the prime of his career, should he is sneaky mean, right? Like he is a guy that doesn't want the reputation of being someone who hates every other player, but he hates his competition and wants to punish them. And so I would actually be really interested in how entertaining this game could be.
And the good thing about the Oilers right now is he's obviously back to 100% the way he's playing. And the good thing is Draisaitl's not there yet.
No.
Right? Like he's not putting up...
But Draisaitl's not hurting.
No,
either.
he's fighting it a little bit.
But if he turns it on,
where
does this go?
But usually the offense is somewhat negated by where you're kind of
there's an ankle injury or something. You're saying there's an injury.
Yeah, well, or defensively he's just not showing up as hard. And you look at the face-off numbers for the Oilers right now, and by the end of the game, they tend to start to balance out. But early in that Carolina game, when they were up, I want to say it was when they were up 3-0, they were leading 10-0 in the face-off dot. They were dominating at the little stats,
and
right?
they get waved out of the circle a lot. Have you noticed that?
Well, last night's game, what I loved about it is they were bullies.
Yeah.
Like the first goal called off because of clear goaltender interference, and I love that they did it. And then they get a goal by being jerks to the goaltender again. New Jersey with no response. Like if the tables had been flipped, that's all Oilers fans are talking about. That there was no pushback. Like they intimidated our goalie and we didn't do anything about it. And now it's the Oilers who are bullies out there. And then, I mean, we were here in the depths of their bad start and wondering about Bouchard. Well, that 99-mile-per-hour one-timer that he fired, you've got a lot of runway with me. If you can unleash that as accurately and as consistently as he started to, what a weapon from the point. He used to just be the guy that we loved because he would get it on net, right? He's effective. He gets it on net. He's not just getting it on net anymore. He's intimidating the opposition.
And just to your not being a pushover, I loved when Jack Hughes went down on the Ekholm penalty, and Ekholm made got up and went up to him and gave him a shove, stop diving, you little, that. And then McDavid threw some big hits. Nurse laid out Hughes as well. So this team is, they're turning it around. Oiler fans are the best. I just love it because yesterday he's like, no one's talking about Bouchard now. And I'm like, well, because he's playing well.
Yeah, because he's not hot garbage out there.
No one can sit here and say he wasn't a complete mess when the season started.
Yeah.
Or the other one I like is a lot of people owe Paul Coffey an apology. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Everybody thought the same thing when they heard him. He even said, I didn't want to coach him now. So, listen, the team was struggling at the beginning. I think everything that was said was fair.
And I don't think anyone's hot take on Coffey was that he was a bad coach.
No,
we didn't know what he was.
What he was.
What
and
we
it was
knew
an
is
old
that
boys thing.
what we knew is that it didn't feel like he wanted the job.
It's not that he didn't feel like it. He said, I didn't want to do this. Like it was, and like so we all just, that's all we heard.
I think we were right to be suspicious that this might not translate well. But credit to his professionalism.
That's social media. Everybody wants to be like, oh, no, I always knew they would turn it. No, you didn't. Get out.
For those that got on this at the beginning of the season on CoolBet, because they screwed up the Evan Bouchard line at the start of the season. Me, Dusty, and Eric were laughing at that morning show. He's 3 goals away from his over-under on that one.
Man. Like,
it was 10.5 goals.
Wow.
They set it up. So we hammered that hard. We're 3 goals away from winning that one. I saw somebody tweet at me, he had 11.5, so they bumped it only a little. So he's a little off. Yeah. And then the points total was 44.5, where he's on pace for over 82 and stuff. So sorry to the boys at CoolBet, but we're getting closer to having to pay all of us for the Bouchard line this year.
It was never a question of his offense.
No. That's why it was funny. It
was a question of could he be valuable enough to leave on the ice? Could he not be such a
he's
garbage?
He's scoring 2 goals, but he's also costing you 2 goals. And Darnell Nurse, he's playing well. I've been a guy that's been hard on him and for his contract and all that, but like he's turned it around. He's playing well. I don't think he'll ever be a $9 million player, but he's playing.
I don't know, man. There's not a lot of guys that can play as many minutes as he does.
But he's playing. He's like, for me, this is his best stretch of hockey since the COVID Canadian division.
That's also defensemen, right? Defensemen hit their prime 2 to 3 years later than centers and wingers.
And he's not like, and I think the morning guys are saying it, like he's not running around trying to do it all.
Right.
Because he was just trying to help and help his struggling partner or the team. Now he's taking care of him. Yeah. And which is perfect. And that's what the team wants because everybody's responsible for their roles, right? So kudos to Darnell Nurse. He's turned it around.
And dumbest question of the day. Is there such thing as an empty net specialist? Because if there is, I think it's Evander Kane. And
I think there is.
You know what? I'm gonna look it up for you.
There's some people that could just. There's some players they can.
I don't know if there's a player on that roster that I want on the ice more in an empty net situation than Evander Kane. There's something about his physicality and his ability to bear down in those moments that it's uncanny. What he is up to these days.
When he first came to us, he scored quite a few empty netters.
Yes, exactly.
And there is something to that. You're closing out a game. You're finishing off a game.
I want to see now how many empty netters he has in his time with the Oilers. I'll just head to the. I'll let you know. Yeah. That's an intriguing question.
That will end today's EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato. Caesar up next. It is the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss. They're gonna have beef. Huss thinks Dusty's this big Chiefs hater. We didn't even get into the Chiefs-Bills ending. Dusty's probably gonna keep saying that Patrick Mahomes is a little baby, and so is Andy Reid for what happened yesterday. They absolutely are. It was a great play,
which is interesting coming from a LeBron James fan.
I like it.
We'll leave that there, and they'll recap the weekend. Then Lock Shop coming up at noon with Dusty and Huss. Go ahead. Dusty and Tom Gazzola.
How can you blame the ref when you're offside? The ref didn't tell me. Did you point at him and say?
It is honestly I am stunned.
I couldn't believe that.
At how much they are going off and trying to blame the ref for the fact that he lined up offside. Lined up offside.
And it's not like it was close. He was offside.
Well, it's clear the officials have been against the Chiefs for years.
Yeah.
If not for them, they would have had a Super Bowl or two.
Wil, Hernan, it was great having you guys in once again.
It was fun.
If I don't see you guys, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And to you.
Thank you. That was the EST Hangout again. Lock Shop coming up next with Dusty and Huss on behalf of Wil, Hernan. I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk with you tomorrow.